This system is going to focus on how we can improve your speed to lead. So what that means is when someone fills out a contact us form and they say, yeah, I want you to contact me about your service or product, the time it takes you to have your sales reps call that person, that's your speed to lead. And what we want to do is reduce that time as much as possible so you have a higher chance of being able to convert that person. So below here, you're going to see a little bit of a flow. We're going to walk through this step by step. I'm going to show you what you're probably doing right now that are mistakes and how we can improve them and automate them so that this can become a much cleaner system. And again, you can convert more of the leads that are coming through that you're paying for on the marketing side of things. If you haven't looked me up already, my name is Jordan Nelson. The majority of my following is on LinkedIn at the moment. What you'll notice if you look me up over there, I've worked for 4 different billion-dollar startups. So for Cell, Podium, Divvy, and Health Equity. What I noticed when I worked at those companies before starting this consulting firm over 3 years ago is that they would all follow similar patterns and strategies that were obviously super successful to get them to where they're at. So it was my job, quite literally, at those companies to build these systems out. So when I started consulting, I took those strategies and now I just basically apply those to these growth stage startups that are wanting to grow to $100 million in revenue and beyond. So what we're going to talk about in this video, it does apply to tech companies that are at least around $3 million in revenue. It's usually where I start seeing these problems. If you're a little below that, you might still have some of this happening, but it's probably going to be a little less likely. If you're above 100 million, you've probably already solved these problems. So just want to save some time to make sure that if you are in that bound that I just set, this is going to be super applicable to you. So what I want to do first is talk about how these billion-dollar companies think. We want to talk through the strategy before we build it. So there's basically 5 rules that they would always set before we built out our lead management systems, this being one of them. So in this system, we wanted to always make sure that you had instant ownership when a new lead came through from marketing. So common problem that you'll usually see is that you kind of have that, right? There's maybe usually like a shared email inbox that you guys have, or maybe you like default assign these to people inside of Salesforce, but you don't really have an actual working system that's been well thought out to say, if it's this type of lead, it needs to go to this type of person on the team. And what that does is you get a lot of these lost leads because they just don't get assigned. And that's money that you're wasting that you should be spending on something usable for the company, right? You're spending all this money on marketing to get people's attention. And then you finally get one and then nobody calls them. So you want to make sure that we're reducing that as much as we can. And one way to do that is instant ownership. Okay. And we want to do that to where we not only assign them, but we get it to where these people are calling them within seconds if possible, right? Not hours, not days, not weeks. We want this down to seconds. So instant ownership is rule number 1. Rule number 2 is going to be SLAs. So these billion-dollar startups would always have some type of SLA that they would set. If you're not familiar with it, what an SLA is, it's just a time frame that they would give their sales reps to call these leads. So we would set something. We wouldn't just have a precedence to say, call them immediately or call them ASAP or call them right away. It's too vague. There's nothing to track. You can't actually improve your sales reps' performance. It makes it hard on your sales manager to coach them because there's not an actual tangible deadline that they have to follow. So instead, you want to set some kind of number. And an example that we could use here is basically saying, let's say a lead comes in, we want you to call them within 5 minutes of receiving that lead in business hours. That's very tangible. It's very coachable. You can actually look at that and see if people are doing that. Okay. So we'd set up some fields in Salesforce to do this so that when a lead gets assigned, we start a tracker so we can start counting how long it's been since they've been assigned to that lead. But you want to do that so that you can coach them. So it doesn't usually have to be 5 minutes, but you want to set something that makes sense for your company, right? And if you work weekends, you don't work weekends, obviously you want to take that to consideration too. So a hard SLA so that we can actually track things and escalate as needed. Number 3 is routing is automated. It's not human. So we never had a system set up where we rely on a human. What we want to do, if you're at this 3 million mark, you probably still have a lot of human stuff going on. And that's totally fine. You kind of have to do that to grow, to be able to get there. At this point, now that there's a little bit more money to be spending, you want to start developing these systems so that they work regardless of a person being at your company or not. You want to be able to feel like, hey, if this person quit tomorrow, we're not relying on them to have our business actually run, right? You don't want to feel like a system is reliant on what somebody has in their head. So what we have here, right, is that there's no inbox that we're going to go to. We're not going to be copying and pasting from a Gmail or an Outlook and putting these leads manually into Salesforce. Okay. There's no Slack forwarding. There's no spreadsheet handoffs. There's no Google Sheets sitting around there. Salesforce is going to assign based on clear rules, like we talked about. And you can set these rules up to be territory based, round robin. You could segment them out by performance or availability as well. Again, depending if you work weekends, that might be helpful. So whatever fits for your business, we can set up. But the main point that I have underlined is it's a mechanical system and it's reliable. It's not going to be based on Betty Joe getting in there, checking out an email inbox and making sure that she assigns those to the right people at the right time and she's staying on top of it, right? We want to call these people immediately. So we want to turn it into a system. Number 4 is alerts go to the reps where they would actually see them and respond. So a lot of times it's not bad. You can default these to email if you guys are on top of it with email. It's probably still good to do email because it's an official place where you can track a paper trail. You can look at that. You can see it. Kind of holds up a little bit better if you ever have to coach somebody and use it for HR purposes. But only relying on email is also kind of a mistake. We all treat email a little bit different. Email is more of a place that we go to kind of check every so often, every couple hours. You also tend to have more social rules around it with how and when you respond. So when I receive an email in general, 24 hours is pretty applicable to, I would say, anybody in the US of responding to an email, as long as you get back to it within a day. Whereas when I send a Slack message, I'm usually expecting within like the next hour or two, right? So there's just differences like that. And so what we want to do is set this up to have them get notifications where they would actually see them instantly. So if that is Teams or that is Slack, let's also push it there as well as your email so that they can see it. Number 5, last one, is going to be speed is measured every single week. So you have the sales manager that you've either hired or you're working on hiring at this point in your business, and you want to make their life easy too. And the way that we can do that is making sure that they have metrics they can look at to know how well each rep is performing. It's really hard for them to coach and make people better if they just feel like it's going off gut feelings. Like, hey, I think Jordan does okay, he does a good job with this. That's not what we're asking. What we're asking is, does he call people within the SLA, right? Does he have any leads that are assigned to him that he has not followed up on? Has he closed more deals than the other person? Like, that's what we want to look at to judge performance. It's just based on the metrics. So this is where they're going to track these numbers, make them visible. You could look at things like median time to first call, right? How long is it usually taking them? Percent contacted within that SLA that you guys set, pipeline created per source, per marketing that comes through. How do they compare to their peers? And then if those numbers slip or they're falling behind, then you can treat that more like a broken system. So what's happening here? Why is it that we're struggling with this specific rep versus somebody else? Is there something that we're not doing right? But you would at least know that the system we have set up is fair and it's working for everybody else. So there's something we got to work on with this specific rep. Okay. All right, cool. So those are some principles we want to think through that I've noticed that these other companies that are super successful, what they do. Now, I'm going to break this up. There's basically 2 parts to this. There's marketing and there's Salesforce. Since this is more about the lead routing, we're going to focus on the Salesforce side. But to get to that point, I'm going to hurry and blaze through what this looks like to get a lead to Salesforce, because there has to be some pre-work that happens before we can actually route the lead. You have to get the lead first. So let's zoom in here. And on the marketing side, real quick, we have a group of people that we want to advertise to. We choose to do some type of advertising that we pay a lot of money for. And it's usually digital or physical type of marketing, right? So you have all your social media feeds. Physical might be trade shows and print media and wrapping vinyl cars and going to events and things like that. We eventually get these people to some of these types of channels. So our landing page, our phone number, and then some of these social media platforms where we're advertising on. Once we've done that, we then push those people to these forms that I'm referring to. So you either have like a form that pops up on one of these social feeds that says, hey, fill out this information so we can call you, or you push them to a landing page that basically does the same thing. You have some different copy on there from marketing. They say this is what works best to get somebody interested and answer their questions. And then another contact form that says, hey, give us your name and number so we can give you a call. After they do this, this completes our marketing side of it. This is where the Salesforce starts, okay? And at this point, Mistake number one that always happens is right here. It's either choosing to integrate this with Salesforce and automatically route it to Salesforce, or you're not. And in a lot of these cases, I see that you're not. So I usually see here that you have some type of shared email inbox where we send this type of information over here to the left. They filled it out. They entered their info. Where did that info go? In a lot of cases, it just goes to an email inbox. And then you have somebody that chooses to go look at that email inbox every so often throughout the day and take those leads and then copy paste all their information and put it into Salesforce manually. This is extremely slow. This is extremely inefficient. I understand that it kind of had to be done to get to this point, and you probably didn't know how to do this other part, which is why you didn't do it. I understand all that, but this is killing how many people that you end up converting. And the reason for that is because this in itself is going to take a lot of time, right? How many leads come in a day? Even if you had like 20 leads coming in a day or 10 leads coming in a day, how much time does it take to go and look at that email inbox, be on top of it, either get a notification that, hey, we got a new lead, or I just manually got to go remember throughout the day and go check this thing and then see what's in there, go and pull that info, copy paste it, put it into Salesforce, and then figure out what to do from there. That alone is killing how long this takes for a sales rep to call them. Okay. So you don't want to be doing this. Do not copy paste. Something I'm not even talking about is the waste of time and money you're probably paying that person to do this versus automating it as well. So unfortunately, I've seen a lot of these cases. It's the ambitious people on your team that do this. So it's like the VP of sales, or it's like a marketing person, or it's someone in the C-suite. And so you're paying them a lot of money per hour. When we convert their salary to an hourly rate, you're paying them a lot per hour. And this takes them a few hours a day to do. So you're wasting a lot of money too, because you don't have a low-level employee usually doing this. And that in itself is wasting money. When the reality is we can just integrate this. So there's a few ways to do that. The way I always recommend first is trying to do this through Salesforce. So if you use any type of like custom landing page or any of those forms over there to the left, there's a high chance Salesforce automatically can integrate with those things. There's a app store that you can go to for Salesforce. It's called App Exchange, and it's just like your phone. You basically just download the app you're looking for that you want to connect with, and you plug it into your Salesforce. So if I want leads from LinkedIn, let's say, to go to Salesforce, I can easily set that up through one of these integrations. So that would be recommended best step. Now, if you can't do that for whatever reason, there's always these third-party tools like Zapier, NAN, Trade.ai, Make.com. All these things will play like a middleman so that they can connect whatever app or landing page you have set up to Salesforce for you and push it through automatically. So no excuse here. Automatically, you should be having, when these things get entered in, they enter information, that lead should automatically just get pushed into Salesforce. It's going to reduce typos. It's going to reduce the amount of time it takes. It's going to cut out somebody's side job that you have on the company that you're paying for to copy paste information from the email inbox to put it in there. So this dramatically, just this one step dramatically improves how many more leads you can convert and how fast you're calling them. Just this one step. Okay. So if you do nothing else in this video, at least do this, at least get this part taken care of. The second step that we want to do is set up some type of routing. Okay. So it's good that we assign this to somebody. And the second mistake I see in the red is that we usually are then saying, cool, the information's now in Salesforce. I got it in there. The second question would be then to Betty, which is like, I copy pasted, I put the lead in there. Who do I assign it to? That question is then like, well, I got to go ask the sales manager. I got to see who's on PTO. I got to see who's available to take this. I got to see kind of what they're talking about. So maybe I assign it to the right person based on the problem that we're looking at. So there's a lot of more questions that they then have to ask of different people that they then rely on their availability for to get back to them via Slack or via an email so that they can assign it to this person. Or you just wing it and you assign it to somebody and you hope that they call them. So those are kind of the two options here, right? As you Slack people, you send them an email maybe, and then you kind of cross your fingers and just hope for the best. Like, all right, we signed it. Hopefully they call them. Better option. There's auto routing you can set up in Salesforce, okay? They're called lead assignment rules. Basically what this does for us is allows you to route this automatically as well as cover you like a system. So there's two different things up here. There's routing that we can set up. You could do this by availability, just people that are available in the office. If you're a smaller team, that might be something to consider. You could do this by territory. So I see this a lot by like region. Hey, you got West Coast, I got middle of the country, you got East Coast, or you could do it by other countries if you're international. Hey, I got, North America, you got South America, you got Asia. So you could set it up by territory, or you could do performance. Performance, a little bit trickier to do, but basically it's based on how well people convert certain problems. So for example, Jordan, let's say I'm really good at talking through if they have any type of like contract type of questions. They don't love the contract we have. They don't like being locked into it that we offer. I'm great at overcoming those. You should assign those types of questions and problems to me. Versus if it's something around like the features that we offer within our product or service. Maybe that's really great for Susan, and we should assign those over to Susan. So you could set it up performance as well. You could do role-based. It's kind of similar to performance. Same basic idea, though. If it's a certain type of problem, we assign it to this type of role. This is also going to cover you in case somebody takes PTO, you have to lay people off, somebody quits, somebody gets fired. You're not stuck by these rules, right? Like in the situation that we do this manually, if this person never gets fired, they take PTO, they get laid off, they quit, we're really in a bind to try to hurry and get someone trained up and take care of this and make sure it's all handled properly. Like it's just not going to work well, even with an SOP, right? It's still going to be hard to make sure that they do this 100% efficient as the person that just left. Versus a system, it's never going to get fired. It's never going to get laid off. It's never going to quit. It's always going to work. You set rules and it just does the thing. So auto routing is definitely the way to go. And this is going to make it a lot better to assign those specific problems to specific people. So you have, a better chance, not only contacting them, but then once we do get on the phone, we got a better chance of overcoming those issues and problems that they have when we are talking to them. Now, this is going to look somewhat like this. I have an example. So when you get into Salesforce, I'm not going to go through and build it with you, but there's this place called lead assignment rules, okay? And this is what you have. So you can set up these fields here and you can create some type of system. So, hey, if the, like what we were saying down here, if the website is a .org, then we know they're coming from like an educational background. And these are the types of problems we have. We're going to assign this one to Jordan. Versus if it's, we have down here, if the ARR is, over $3 million, then we want to assign it to Susan because she's much better at working with that group of individuals than somebody below 3 million, right? So you can set these up. You're looking for a field. If it equals this, then we assign it to this person type of idea. Okay. That's just a quick little look at this. Definitely not the way that you're going to set this up, but just to give you somewhat of an idea of how this looks, how this would function, right? This is where we're going to actually assign the user. This is where we would type in that 3 million ARR. Okay. Or up here with like the .org, for example. And then down here is where I would search for my person. Here's Jordan Nelson. Cool. Assign it to this user. Okay, so that is a great way to do that. So again, second step, again, going to make this way better for you to be able to convert your leads. Now, the last two that we have are auto notifying and auto escalating. So auto notifying, kind of similar problem that I usually see. If we get this assigned to the right person, how do we then let them know that they got this lead, right? What do? We might send them an email. We might send them a Slack. But again, this is manual. This is dependent on Betty down here that's doing this process. She's got to send those out manually and just let them know. And what happens if she's taking PTO tomorrow and today is a Wednesday? She skips Thursday because she's on PTO. She forgot that on Wednesday she sent these Slacks out to these people. So Friday she doesn't do it either. Now we got the weekend. We come back Monday. It's been, 5 days or whatever. And we don't even remember who we've notified or who hasn't even followed up on these people. So this is a really bad, inefficient way to do it. What you want to do instead is auto notify these people. So after we assign it to them, we're going to send an email to your Outlook or your Gmail or wherever you have your email set up, and a Slack or a Teams. So the place where you guys also communicate, so we get it in double spots. We're also going to have some kind of notification, if you want, inside of Salesforce too. So this kind of just hits all the channels. It lets them know there's no excuse for why they didn't see this lead. We hit multiple channels to let you know you were assigned to this lead. Okay, so it should hit them where they're usually living. After we do that, we then want to auto escalate if we don't reach that SLA. So if we remember one of those rules over here to the left, one of these big ones, right, is hard SLA. So part of this is so that we can escalate stuff. So if we miss the SLA and they haven't followed up in 24 hours, let's say that's our SLA, then we want to set a rule to auto escalate this to somebody else. So, oh, Jordan hasn't followed up with this person. We don't know what's going on. Maybe he's tied up on just like too many leads and whatever, or he's out, he's on PTO, or he took a leave of absence, whatever, right? He's just not available. He's not hitting this. Instead of dwelling on it and being like, boo-hoo us, we're not going to be able to close this one. We're just going to take it from him automatically and reassign it to the person that it should go to next. So auto escalating rules. We're going to use that with Salesforce. Same idea, still notify them through all three channels, let them know that they were reassigned to this lead. In this situation, this is where I usually see all of you kind of get lost on these leads because we assign it to whoever, Tony, and then Tony doesn't follow up, and then we kind of forget about it, and then a couple months go by and we remember and we ask him, hey, how'd it go with so-and-so? And then, oh, I didn't know I was assigned to that lead. And by that time, obviously, they're not even interested. So huge waste of money. Don't want to be doing that. You want to have some type of system set up to auto escalate these leads wherever possible. Ultimately, what does this lead to? This leads to us running a better business. Number one, it's kind of obvious. Number two is converting more leads. And number three, for your C-suite team, it's so you can actually coach. You can actually see what's going on in your business. So ultimately, what we want to do is we want to have some type of dashboard set up here where we can actually look at all your leads, see all the SLAs, see how much is in our stages, see how much is in our pipeline, so that we can actually work on getting better at converting and coaching and targeting the right people within our leads to make more money in the business. That's the only reason the business exists, is to make more money. So at the end of the day, we want to have all these metrics for our C-suite team to figure out if we're going to be making more money or less money. And if it's less money, how can we coach people or get better people into the business to make more money to hit our goals? Okay. So ultimately, this leads to you having better reports, better visibility, better dashboards so that you can take action and coach people appropriately. Okay, cool. Well, I hope this was super helpful. Like I said, this is something I've seen time and time again. And a lot of the time it looks simple now, probably now that we've broken it out, but these red boxes down here, really common mistakes. Totally get that as you're growing, especially if you're bootstrapped, you kind of just got to do what works at the moment. But now that you have some money flowing in at this 3 million revenue, you should be looking for ways to set up systems to get rid of the humans and the human process of it all. You just want this stuff to work, and it takes a lot of emotion out of it too. It's just, this thing just works, right? You just set up a system and it just runs. You don't have to worry about it not doing the right thing for you once you have it all set up. Okay, so if you've never set this up, that seems interesting to you, you like this setup, there's a link in the description below. You can click that. We'll see if we're a good fit for you guys. I mentioned kind of at the beginning, we do work with a specific group of individuals. $3 million in revenue is kind of our starting point. Being in tech is another part of this. We want to work within the tech industry. And then you haven't scaled past 100 million in revenue. If you have, we might still have some openings to work with you in different ways. But a lot of these problems specific to this video, you've likely probably solved that if you're beyond 100 million in revenue. So if this is you don't have this set up, click that. Let's see if we're a good fit. If we are a good fit, we'd love to come in, talk through your guys' lead system, and then set this all up to run automatically for you in Salesforce. So if that is you, look forward to speaking with you guys soon. Thanks.